Well, hello, Donalds Creek. Welcome to day 21 of 31 days in Proverbs. Here we are in Proverbs 21, and I have a few observations to make. The first one is the obvious groupings that we see throughout this 21st chapter. This kind of, in a small way, I know last time we talked about the circular logic. This a little bit, in a small way, does go kind of counter that, but not completely. But there is several groupings. I listed the ones where there was four or more sentences, phrases, or whatnot. There's a few that was 2 and 3. The heart kind of dominates verses 1 through 4. The wicked really dominates 7 through 10. And the wise dominates 11 through 23. And even, I think, up into verse 27, it's brought up again. But there's some obvious groupings there. I want to look at 21:12 specifically, because that one can be a little confusing. The righteous one observes the house of the wicked. He throws the wicked down to ruin. In the NIV, it says the righteous one takes note of the house of the wicked and brings the wicked to ruin. So I'm like, what is this? And I kind of had to step back and look at it. And looking at the King James, you look at the King James Version, and it adds something that's not in these texts. The King James says, "The righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, but God overfloweth the wicked for their wickedness." So that added the phrase, "but God overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness." That's not in the English Standard, nor is it in the NIV. It's not in the New American Standard either. So why did they do that? Well, I want you to notice something here in our text. Is it has, this is a translation issue. The righteous one, capital R, capital O. So the translators there, this is not just talking about a righteous person. This is talking about God, and that is the context. So if you look at the context of what's being discussed, that is, it's about God, and that is why the King James added the word to make it easier to read, maybe, that we would understand. But the righteous one is God. Oftentimes we look at that, and now that we are Christians, now that we are believers, we're not being self-righteous, but we think, okay, I'm the righteous. No, in this case, this is God. One last thing that I wanted to look at is verse 14, because this can be confusing. A gift in secret averts anger, and a concealed bribe, strong wrath. Well, what does that mean? Okay, you look back in 6:34 and 35, we talked about bribes and how sometimes bribes work. This goes to the general nature of Proverbs, that generally these things are true. And sometimes the Proverbs will say one thing over here and something else seemingly opposite over here. And that's just the general nature of the Proverbs, that generally this is true. In 6:34-35, he's talking about adultery, and for jealousy, for jealousy makes a man furious, and he will not spare when he takes revenge. He will accept no compensation. This is the one who has been cheated on. He will refuse you, though you multiply the gift. So the bribe, not just something that you give a judge for justice or to a policeman to try to get out of a ticket. This is something that you try to buy your way out of trouble with someone that you've offended. And he's like, no, not interested in your money. Not interested in any amount of money that you give to me. And so this is the general nature of the Proverbs here. But you see, in this case, in our verse 14, the bribe does conceal strong wrath. Over here it doesn't. Over here it does. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. And I think that you can see how those both can be true. Those both can be generally true. So let's look at our win, place, and show. Wicked wins out with a an overwhelming amount. This is another one of those. Not so much like 19 and 20. 19 and 20 had a whole lot of just individual thoughts, a whole lot of topics. 21 got back to kind of sticking with some 3 or 4 or 5 different topics. Righteousness got place. Speech I put in third. There's actually, just like yesterday, there were some other ones that qualify as speech that aren't listed here in verse 22 and 23, but it did get third place. Those are the topics that are kind of the biggest topics that are dealt with in Proverbs 21. 3 things. These are some real things that really stuck out. The first thing, the beginning and end of Proverbs 21 deals with God's sovereignty. The king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will. God is sovereign. I will say that, I hope, 1,000,000 times in the next 20 years. God is sovereign, and we have to trust in God. We have to trust that he knows what's best, that even when things aren't going well, that all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord. All things, not some things. And we may not understand. We may not understand. The secret things do belong to the Lord. Deuteronomy 7:7. There are some things that we will not understand, but we have to trust that he is right. And this chapter begins and ends with God's sovereignty. Look at the very last verse. Let me flip my page over here. We have the first one. The king's heart is like water in the Lord's hand. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. So you can get your army ready. You can make your plans to go to battle. But you know what? It comes down to if the Lord wants you to win or not. That is it. Okay, thing number 2. Building a house takes time. Let's look at verse number 11. Let me look here in the NIV. Verse 11, 21:11 says, when a mocker is punished, the simple gain wisdom. By paying attention to the wise, they get knowledge. Building a house takes time. And this is one of those situations where you have someone who is not wise and they are instructed in wisdom and they grow in wisdom. I was thinking this the other day as I was reflecting upon the sermon from Sunday and the class. We repeatedly, in this Proverbs study and in class and in the sermon, we have repeatedly talked about Jesus' words. He who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice like a wise man who built his house upon the rock. When you build a house, it doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen in 2 days. It takes time. It takes time, and the bigger the house, the more time it takes. Look back in the Kings and see how long it took our friend Solomon to build his house and to build the temple. It took a long time. And that's not the point they were making, but you get the point I'm making. This is a pursuit, and even if you want to just consider lifelong maintenance, those of you who have a house know that you're always working on it. There's always something that needs to be done, always. Even a brand new place, something has to be done. So that is the house of wisdom. Thing number 3, what's up with the bribe in verse 18? Let's read that. 21:18 says this. Let me turn over here. The wicked is a ransom for the righteous, and the traitor for the upright. I should have put, a ransom there. What's up with the ransom here? It's not a bribe, so forgive me. What's up with that? The wicked is a ransom for the righteous? I mean, you think of Jesus. Jesus wasn't wicked, and he was our ransom. He paid our ransom. He paid our ransom in salvation. What is this? A wicked is the ransom for the righteous, and the traitor for the upright. I want you to think about Achan. And if you don't know the story of Achan, go read it. I believe it's in Joshua 7. But I will summarize it. Achan sinned against the Lord in that when they invaded Jericho, and I'm talking about it's the children of Israel, they were to destroy everything, but he did not. He kept something. He coveted it and kept it, and he buried it in his tent. And the children of Israel went to the second battle, another battle. And when they went to that battle, it's a battle they should have won with right hand tied behind their back. That's kind of the picture that you're given. And they lost. They lost the battle. Well, they're like, Joshua's like, what's up? What's up with that, Lord? And he's praying. And come to find out, the Lord says, Achan has hidden something. He didn't give the name. He said someone has, and they find out through an investigation. You can read about it in Joshua 7. They find out through an investigation that Achan had sinned against the Lord, and Achan was destroyed, and his family, and the kids. So in this case, the wicked was the ransom for the righteous. Nobody else had hidden anything. Achan did. Achan hid something. And they lost a battle because of it. The Lord, punished them, disciplined them. And after they got rid of Achan and his sin, they began winning again. They returned to their winning ways. So that is a good way of looking at this ransom in verse 18. Interesting, though. That really caught my attention, and I had to, really investigate it and see what's up with that. Well, that's it for today, our 21st day of 31 days. We just have 9 days left, and you've made it this long with me. Thank you for sticking with me. I really enjoy this. I've greatly enjoyed this, and I hope you're benefiting. I do. How about we do this again tomorrow? I think it's a great idea. I think we will. Have a terrific rest of your day, and thank you again. May God bless you.